Today we are taking a look at some ways to build a bigger chest, and I'm going to be doing a reaction to a video done by AthleanX where he ranks his chest exercises from worst to best. So I'm going to kind of grade them myself, give you my input, and see if I agree with him in terms of how to build a bigger chest using certain exercises. Let's take a look at his rankings.
And that's why we start at the bottom of the list right here with the bench fly. Now look, I understand that Arnold loved this exercise, but just because he loved the fly and I love Arnold doesn't mean that I have to love the fly.
Now he covers that this is the worst exercise because it puts a lot of strain on your anterior deltoid. And while I agree that it can, do I think most people have issues with getting injured? I don't know. I actually personally have never had someone come to me and say they've been injured in this way. Many people I know got injured bench pressing because they load up a ton of weight, but I don't see a lot of people overexerting themselves on this exercise, so I don't think it would be my worst on the list. I agree that you could potentially hurt yourself, but I don't think that this one should fall where it does as the worst. That's just my input for this exercise.
All right, so next up in the category of worst is one that might actually come as a surprise to you because you know how often I like to train on my feet if at all possible, but it's the standing cable press. And the issue with the standing cable press is it provides more of a challenge to your core than the muscles you're actually trying to build.
The second worst exercise is the standing cable press. Now, I have to agree with him here in terms of being able to overload it. It's really going to take a lot of your effort just to stay upright and not get yanked backwards doing this because your abs, core, and even legs are going to have to stabilize you forward, and then you're going to be using your chest to do the rest of the movement. However, if any of the rest of the chain there is weak, you're just going to get pulled backwards and you won't be able to overload it each time enough to where you get stimulus to make gains. So I agree here that this is not one of the better exercises. Maybe throw it in here and there if you just want some variety, but I personally don't use this in my training at all.
Well, a couple big red X's on the board behind me. We're still not out of the worst category yet. Here we have to throw in the incline bench press. Now wait, before you riot, understand that just like size matters, angle matters too, a lot. And when it comes to the incline bench press, what angle are you setting it at? Because it really matters in terms of the gains that you see from the exercise, especially up here in the upper chest.
The next worst chest exercise on the list is the 60-degree incline bench press. I would actually put this farther down the list, but I agree that this is not one of the better chest exercises. The angle here just makes it too much of what I call even an overhead press. You're just too upright for your chest to really be getting any meaningful stimulus. You're going to be doing too much shoulder in this movement, so I would just cut it out entirely. 60 degree is way too high. I would recommend something like 30 degrees in order to get a good incline bench, but I agree with him here that this one is one of the worst exercises in order to build your chest. So the next one he throws in is a nonsense exercise where he just kind of stands there and turns his chest into his arm, kind of like as a, adduction into doing the chest movement. And this is just stupid. Don't even bother. Just kick it out entirely. Don't ever do this. I know it's something from like Vince, I think, so get rid of it.
You have to start right here with the king of all of the better exercises. It's the push-up. And I say the basic push-up because the basic push-up is oftentimes, as I pointed out in our major criteria in the beginning of this video, not challenging enough.
Alright, moving into the next category are the better push-ups. So the first one he throws in here, and this one I think should be much higher on the list, especially for the average individual, are the push-ups. He thinks that these are just not hard enough for the average person to get a stimulus on, and I disagree completely. Now, if you're someone who's a trained athlete or someone who's maybe a bodybuilder, this might not be enough for you, but for the average person, someone working out at home, and even if you put this like a slowed down time under tension, push-ups can do a lot of work. I think personally they are a great exercise for the average individual, even myself, to get chest development when done properly. Those people who are just throwing their weight up and down, that's not really what you want here. I don't go for speed really. I just controlled up and down pretty slowly. You will definitely feel it in your chest. Maybe even get some push-up bars for just a little more depth. But honestly, this is one of the better chest exercises in my opinion, not in the better category he has, but one of the best ones I would put maybe even in my top 3 or 4 chest exercises. So I disagree in the placement here, as I think this is a lot better than what he's put it at.
So since better is all about improvement, let's go back to those flies again, because I wouldn't leave you hanging. I wanted to give you an improved version of it, or a safer version of it, and for that we have to look at the floor fly. I'm a much bigger fan of this exercise because it gives us a chance to have resisted adduction, but we get a chance to do it in a safer setting with the floor acting as the safety net protecting that anterior shoulder because we don't have those extreme ranges of motion at the bottom.
All right, next going up our list to the better category is the floor flies. Now, I actually really do like this exercise. It does protect your shoulders if that's something you're afraid of. Again, I actually don't know anyone who's been injured doing a bench fly, so I can't really say with certainty that that's a terrible exercise unless you're just dumb and you really overload it. But the floor fly, if you're afraid of this, can help there as well, because you can just lower down until you barely touch the floor. You know you got the distance, then you can come back up. So I agree with the placement of this one here. I think he actually puts in a pretty good spot. So good job, Jeff, in putting a decent one for your floor flies.
Wrapping up our better category here is an often overlooked exercise that I believe deserves a second look, and it's the underhand dumbbell bench press. And the best thing about this exercise is it provides those that don't have access to an incline bench to still work their upper chest, especially better than that 60-degree incline dumbbell bench press.
And to wrap up our better section, he has the underhand dumbbell bench press. So, personally, yes, you can hit more your upper chest, but this is not the exercise to do it. I just stick with your incline bench pressing. Don't bother with this unless maybe you have to do it from the floor. And even then, I'll probably just use regular benching. This is awkward. I hate doing this exercise. It's just weird placement. Feels awkward. Your hands facing towards you benching. I don't like anything about this exercise. Yes, you may feel a little bit more upper chest in the movement, but honestly, just stick to bench pressing at this point and then move to incline when you're available or have a bench to do so.
But I have to start here with that variation of the push-up that I promised you before. This is called the twisting push-up. And the main thing we're getting here is this additional relative adduction, that small but incredibly important addition to the basic push-up that will take whatever repetition count you can do of the basic push-up and bring it dramatically downwards. But at the same time, increase the effectiveness of it, and that's really all that matters. No matter what count you can do of your regular push-up right now, I promise you less push-ups here, but more from it.
Now we jump into the better still category, and we have the twisting push-ups. All right. One question. Have you ever seen someone doing the twisting push-up? Personally, I see this come up in tons of AthleanX's videos, and I really think he's just trying to push a new version of a push-up on people. I don't see this really having any value. Just stick with regular push-ups, control them, do them well, and then move on from there to maybe other things. If you feel like you're beyond push-ups, move to something else. You do not need a twisting push-up, especially the way he does it. He has a lot of momentum in that push. I don't really feel like he's getting that good contraction in there. So for me, I just think this is very gimmicky, and you do it from either side. So you're kind of losing the load on one side when you do that. I just don't think this is a good chest exercise. I know he really likes doing these little twisty things at the top. He does it with his dips as well. But for me, this just seems very weird, gimmicky, and not something I think should be in anyone's training.
And speaking of adduction, our next exercise in our even better still category is one that focuses on that adduction function of the chest better than the things we've showed you already, including even the floor fly. And it's the cable crossover. See, the thing about the cable crossover is it not only gives us a chance to get more adduction because you're going to get our hands slightly across midline, but it also gives us the chance to have peak tension where we tend to lose it in either version of the dumbbell fly, floor or bench.
All right, next up in the better still category is the cable crossover. And this is the same issue we had previously where you need to be standing in order to do the actual crossover movement. Yes, you might get a bit better of a contraction in the chest when you do this, but you're still having to brace with your core and lower body to not fly back, so overloading this can be difficult. Now, with my bands that I actually have, you can put it around your back and do it, so you're not actually getting pulled backwards at all. You just put it around your back and go like this. The problem with that is I have it through my palms, and doing it through your palms just puts a lot of pressure on around your palm area, so it can really hurt while doing them. If you had something like some kind of handle or something to do it with, maybe it'd be better, but I'm just not all for the flies that much, unless they're just like the normal dumbbell flies. So I'd actually put that above these. But if you can find a way to really stabilize yourself in doing that movement, maybe something like a pec deck or something like that, like in a gym, then I recommend these. I just don't think they're that good with a cable because, again, you are losing a lot of that contraction because you're trying to stabilize yourself more than actually overloading it with weight over time.
Next up in the better still category is another variation of a bench press. It's actually one of my favorite when your goal is mostly hypertrophy and a little bit less of a focus on strength. And it's the lying cable bench press. And what this does is it provides you with a better strength curve with more resistance throughout the entire strength curve of the bench press because of the use of the cables.
All right, moving on in the better still, we have the lying cable bench press. And I actually really like this exercise. However, I can't really do it at home. I mean, I probably could figure out a way to do it with my resistance bands, but I don't have a way to do it really in my home gym. Now, if you have a gym setup, this is perfect. You might be one of those annoying people taking a bench from somewhere and moving it into a cable machine, just being one of those dudes that, I don't know, I feel like everyone looks down on that kind of guy. But for me, if you can get this set up, this is actually a very good exercise, in my opinion. You get a great movement pattern and contraction throughout the chest, and you can overload this pretty well over time. He does mention it can be hard to get into, which I agree with. As you get to the really heavy weights, it might be a little awkward to get into position. But if you can, this I feel like is a very good chest exercise.
And concluding our better still category is one of those chest exercises that people sometimes don't even realize works the chest. And it's the dumbbell upper chest pullover. And I'm careful to add the designation of upper chest to make sure people understand that there's a way to perform this to favor the upper chest rather than the lats.
All right, and the last exercise in the better still category is the dumbbell chest pullover. Now for me, this exercise should not be where it is in the list. It should be much, much further down. This is a lat exercise through and through. Yes, he does explain a little bit on how you can target your chest a bit more, but I'm telling you right now, the average individual will not be able to lock into their chest that well. Maybe if you're a seasoned, trained person and have really done this for a long time, then you can target the chest, but there's so many better options to hit your chest than doing this. This is, again, going to primarily be for the lats, and I actually would use this as a lat exercise if you only had something like dumbbells, but since you can do so many other chest exercises in front of this, this would definitely not fall where it does in his list.
We start right here with the dip, and for me, the dip is the best version of a push-up. If you think about it, the dip is essentially a suspended push-up, especially if you angle your body more forward to favor the chest rather than staying upright and favoring your triceps.
All right, and now into the almost better category, we have the dips. Now, I personally have a dip bar station at home just in order to do this exercise and inverted rows. It's an over $100 item, so for that, this means that this exercise is pretty important to me. I really do love doing dips. However, in order to make this a chest-based exercise, you do have to lean quite a bit forward. Most people I've seen do it instead lean too far back, and it just becomes mostly a tricep-based exercise. But when you lean forward a bit, you can actually make this kind of a push-up style exercise and get a lot of tricep involvement as well. So I do actually really love this to be both a chest and tricep exercise. Is it one of the best chest exercises? I don't know about that. As when you lean forward like that, it can put a lot of strain on your front shoulders. I don't know if you've ever done a lot of dips, but it really can put a lot of strain on your front shoulders. So I feel like that could be a problem. But if you have some good mobility there, these are definitely one to add to your routine. Oh, and forget about the twisting thing again. Just don't even bother doing that. Just do regular dips.
All right, so if you haven't caught up by now, you know that I like adduction, and we want to try to get into the chest exercises we perform if we want to see the best gains from it. And that's why I got to go back to it once again with my best option here. This is the heavy one-arm crossover. And how is this different from the crossover? Well, in a very important way. Number one, much more stability.
All right, now we move on to the heavy one-arm crossover. Jeff, what are you thinking about having this one in the almost better category? This is crap. Yes, you get that abduction across your body, but again, you run into all the same issues you have with the crossover. I would rather do the standing crossover than this. Why would I do one arm at a time across my body when I can just do two at once? But I have the same stability issues. I don't get it. This is much harder to stabilize yourself in. I think in the video he actually says that it's easier to get in position. No, it is not. When you have all this force on one side of the body, it is not easier to bring it across than when using two arms. I don't know where he got that idea, but I think he just likes doing the adduction-based exercises. So he just threw this in there as one of the top ones. Maybe he gets a good feeling from it. But I'm telling you, this is not better than just doing a standard standing cable crossover. You will have more issues doing it this way, and you will not be able to load it as much as you can when doing two arms at once. So I don't know what he was thinking here, but this is definitely not where I think this exercise should be.
And concluding now our almost best category and giving those that are still hyperventilating after looking at the thumbnail a reason to breathe easy, we have the incline bench press up here at the top. The reason, though, is we're putting it at that 30 to 45 degree angle, not the steeper angle that we talked about before. Because as I said, the angle matters.
All right, coming to the end of our almost best category, we have the 30 to 45 degree incline bench press. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you go that high, but let's take a look at this exercise. So he gives us the range of 30 to 45. I agree with the 30 range. 45 degree is too high in my opinion. I would stick with as low as you can go, again, around that 35 degree angle to get more of the upper chest involvement. When you're getting up to that 45 degree angle range, you're just bringing in, again, too much shoulder into the movement. It's too close to the 65. I'd really go nowhere above like 35 or 40 at the highest. If you're getting to that 45-degree range, you're just too high of an angle and you need to drop it down. Now I know not all benches will allow you to do this, so unfortunately that might be an issue for you, and just do the best you can, but try and stick around that 30-degree range to get the best upper chest dumbbell style chest press.
And so with any list ranking the best chest exercises from worst to first, there can only be one first, there can only be one best, and it's the one that's been staring at you the whole time right here, dead smack in the middle, the barbell or the dumbbell bench press. And I'm giving you the option. Why? Because I just want to make sure that you're doing one of them.
All right, now our best of the best exercise, which is no surprise, is the barbell or dumbbell bench press. This deserves top of the list, as you can, of course, overload it a lot. It's been used for a very long time to build some of the most impressive chest physiques out there, and with good reason. I personally don't have a barbell to do this. I can actually use my band setup and get something similar by lying on the floor, but that also brings up another point that you could also lie on the floor if you don't have a bench and get similar results with this as well, and just use some dumbbells to get in your reps. So I agree with this, should be number one on your list and is the best overall chest exercise for this entire list that Jeff has put together. So that is it on my thoughts for the worst to best chest exercises and some of my thoughts on doing it from home. If you did like this video, make sure that you like and subscribe to GamerBody for more videos just like this one. And if you haven't, please make sure to head over to GamerBody.com. There you can check out my current home workout program, all the equipment I own and use, and the information I'm learning from to continue to build muscle and confidence, all from the comfort of home. And that is it. So again, please like and subscribe. I will see you all in the next video. Be fit and game on.